Okay, so today for lunch, I'm going to make a vegetable chicken soup. It's kind of a combination of chicken vegetable soup and pho. So in the soup pot itself, I'm going to put in the rotisserie chicken, which I will tear up and I'll remove the skin and all that. The kidney beans, garbanzo beans, a little bit of minced garlic goes a long way, so I'm not going to put much. The chicken broth. I usually have bone broth in there as well, but I'm just going to work with what I have today. Some bamboo shoots, more for texture, and the water chestnuts, I like the crunch in that. It doesn't really do much for flavor, it's just more vegetables. Then sweet corn, carrots, celery. So all of that will go into the soup pot with a little bit of lemon juice. Then when it's ready, in the separate bowl, I will put in sliced fresh jalapeno, some sliced radishes, maybe some sliced cucumber, definitely the fresh basil. I'm a huge fan of that. I usually also have the fresh cilantro, but not today. So I'm gonna go ahead and chop some vegetables and start throwing some things together, and we'll see how it turns out. Okay, so I went ahead and put in 4 celery sticks diced up, about a half a bag of mini carrots, and about a half a teaspoon of minced garlic in the pot. I'm going to put a little dash of olive oil and saute it for a little bit since the canned vegetables will be pretty soft. These will need a little bit more time to cook. I'll shake a little bit of pepper and salt, obviously seasoned to taste. Put whatever veggies you like in here. But we'll go ahead and get that started. Okay, so now that I have a nice simmer on this, I'm going to turn on the heat, and I'm going to go ahead and start adding 1 thing of chicken broth, and I'll continue to let this simmer on, I would say, five or 4. And by the time I have the chicken tore up, I can throw that in the soup. And then I'll be adding the canned vegetables last. Okay, so now that I have almost all the meat off of that rotisserie chicken, I do want to point out, if you have some picky eaters in the family that don't like the dark meat, obviously you can simplify this by just cooking some chicken breast separately and then throwing it into the soup afterwards. Another thing, depending on the rotisserie chicken that you get, you might have a different level of toughness and tenderness on the meat depending on how toasty it got. So if you're worried about that, you can always be more selective on what you pick, but I'm always surprised on how much meat I actually get off of one of these things. So I'm going to go ahead and pour this in with the carrots and celery that was sauteing, but obviously I'm going to need 2 hands for this. Okay, so we have the chicken in with some broth, the celery, the carrots, a little bit of minced garlic, salt and pepper, a little bit of olive oil. I'm going to be adding another thing of broth. So if you're like me, I usually eyeball a lot of things and I don't measure a lot, so I usually build as I go, especially knowing that I have the urge to put all the vegetables that I own in my soup. Alright, so I got the broth in here. I'll let it simmer a bit while I prepare the canned vegetables to put in. Okay, so in the bowl is radish, cucumber, jalapeno, basil. I would add cilantro if I had it. I also took out the seeds on the jalapeno just so the soup doesn't get too hot. Some people like to squeeze some fresh citrus in their bowl before they put the soup in, or just put the citrus in the pot of soup itself. I'm gonna actually just squeeze a little bit of lemon in the pot of soup. So depending on the ingredients, your cook time will vary. Canned veggies, rotisserie chicken, let's say most of that you're not even dealing with fresh vegetables, it's not going to take as long, and you don't want to overdo it because oftentimes some of them, like the kidney beans, can get a little soft. But I'd say about a half hour should be good. here's the fun part. I'm gonna ladle some of this soup into the bowl on top of these fresh ingredients. And it just depends on if you like your soup a little more hearty or if you like it with the broth like this. I'm a fan of a lot of broth. And here we go. This is the chicken vegetable kind of, I sometimes jokingly call it my soup salad. It's pretty much what it is. Just stir that hot soup around with the jalapenos and the cucumber, radish, whatever fresh things you'd like in there. Love the basil. But yeah, pretty healthy lunch.